One of the things I've really been working hard on over the last couple of years is trying to win more points at the net. Volleys were definitely one of the weaker areas of my game, so I had a habit of kind of hanging back at the baseline and grinding out long points. But as I get older, this just isn't an option anymore. It's partly a fitness thing, but it's more about recovery. If I get involved in too many long rallies, too many grinding matches that take too long, if I'm playing a tournament, I just don't have the ability to recover before the next match. So I need to try and finish points sooner, and to do that, I've got to work on improving my volleys, coming to the net, and finishing points off. So it should be pretty simple, right? You make the decision that you want to win more points to the net, so you go out there, you practice, you work hard, and you improve. Only that's not necessarily the way it works. Well, it does when you're a beginner, because all you need to do is go on YouTube, do a quick search. There's going to be a bunch of great videos that show you specific techniques that you can practice, and because they're new, you'll get better at them. But that wasn't the position that I was in, and that's not the position that a lot of people are in, because I've been playing tennis for a long time, and I was a tennis coach. I know how to volley. I knew how to volley. The problem was that I just wasn't very good at it. There were things that were going on in my body, or things that my body wasn't capable of doing, that were preventing me from hitting good quality volleys. So what I had to do to get to the point where I'm at now, where I'm comfortable on the net, is address those things. So what I'm going to do in this video is break down what they were, show you how I worked on them, because the chances are, if I was struggling with these as a 5.0 player, you might be struggling with some of these things as well. So hopefully this will be helpful to you. The first thing I really had to address was a couple of different things about the split step. So I want to watch this point by Federer and Djokovic. Federer's going to come to the net in a moment, and I want you to watch his split step, and then we're going to kind of break it down and talk about why it's so important. The first thing I had to address with the split step was really the timing, making sure that I was landing just after my opponent made contact. Obviously, this one was an easy fix, but it was just a case of really focusing and concentrating on it. And kind of, I guess, the missing piece was gauging it towards the stroke that my opponent was playing. So if my opponent had kind of a shorter take back, then kind of processing that and making sure that I took off at the right time to land at the right time. The next thing we need to look at about the split step is how wide it is. This isn't just a nice added thing. The reason that Federer can push off and react so quickly is because of how wide his base is when he lands. And in order to do this, you have to have very flexible hips, and that was always something that I'd really struggle with, and it's one of the big things that I've had to work hard on over the last couple of years to get me to the point where I'm at now. As you can see from those starting assessment pictures, my range of motion in my hips was very limited, especially on the right side. This was preventing me from having a split step that was wide enough and low enough to allow me to react quickly. So I've been working hard to improve this over the last couple of years, but it's been a slow process. When you're in your 40s, you've had a lot of injuries, it's not something that's going to come quickly. The other thing that's important is static stretching, and stretching in general isn't really the best way to improve flexibility, and for most people it just flat out doesn't work. I was one of those people. What I've had to do to improve my flexibility is to become strong in the end ranges of motion. So what I mean by that is getting into different variations of the side splits, both with your legs bent and with your legs straight, and at different angles to your body, and trying to get strong in those positions. So trying to push out to strengthen the muscles on the outside of the hips, the glutes medius, etc., and the external rotators, and then trying to squeeze in from these end range positions to get strong on the inner thighs and adductors. And by doing that consistently and regularly, I've been able to make improvements in my hip flexibility. Now I'm able to get much lower, much wider on my split step, and it's given me big improvements in my reaction speed at the net and my overall volleys. But probably the biggest problem I had to overcome was I really found it hard to watch the ball onto my strings at contact, and because of this I was always mishitting and shanking volleys and basically just missing far too many easy volleys. Now the reason I struggled with this was because I had a couple of very specific visual deficits, so in order for me to get cleaner volleys I had to fix those, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do right now. So what this comes down to is there's lots of different visual skills involved in tracking the ball onto your strings. We've got smooth movements when the eyes are moving slowly. If the ball's moving quickly and our eyes need to move quickly, we actually make lots of little fast switches. But then we've also got reflexes that link our visual system to our balance system or vestibular system that lives in the inner ear. And as you play something like a volley where you're having to move forwards towards the ball as you turn your head, it can really challenge the communication between these systems. and it can make it hard for you to keep your eyes on the ball as it moves and as you move. So what I had to do over time was train these systems, train these visual skills until they worked well enough for me to be able to watch the ball onto the strings as I made my volleys. This is something that I find a lot of other players struggle with as well, which is why I've made a free program to help you with it. It's the free Tennis Vision Starter program. I'll place a link in the description and I'll place a link up there so you can check it out. And in addition to working on that, I highly recommend working on a little bit of footwork as well. So kind of doing shadow swings for your volleys. This is really going to accompany the vision work that you do and help to train the movements while you're looking in funny directions, because normally when we're moving, we're looking forwards. So now if you're hitting a high forehand volley, to be jumping through space, looking up and to the right is fairly unusual. So you want to train your body to do that when you're not playing, so that then when the ball's coming, you're more likely to make it happen. But it's not just your volleys that these visual issues can create problems for. It can affect all your other strokes as well. So if you're struggling with your forehand or backhand and they're not improving, you definitely want to check out this video here, because it's going to go into a lot more detail and explain how visual stuff can create problems with pretty much every aspect of your game.